On this week's episode of Quickcraft, we're going to be taking these light up pine trees and turning them into some sweet tabletop pine trees. Easy craft, let's go. Welcome back to the Storycraft Society. This week is another episode of our series called Quickcraft, where we take a craft project and we're gonna do it in one afternoon. These are just fast projects that are really easy to just get done and get onto your gaming table. This week is gonna come to us in the form of these pine tree lights. A while ago, I got a comment on the channel, someone asking about where I got the pine trees that I use for my Glamour Shot sets. The unfortunate news is those pine trees came out of a Christmas Underground set. It was like the trees set down into a pond with ice skaters on them, and I pulled those ceramic trees off, I resprayed them, I repainted them so that they look good, I added bases to the bottom so that they stand on their own, and that's what I've been using for pine trees in my games ever since. So I went on a quest this week to try and find more of those trees, and it turns out nobody makes them. Really frustrating. I looked all over online, I called like 10 different stores, and there was just none to be found. But while I was at Michael's, I did find these Lee Max. I guess they're supposed to be Christmas tree lights, but they really aren't Christmas trees because they don't have any decorations or anything on them. So they're like pine tree lights. We'll start with the price. Definitely they're expensive. $30 for 4 lights is probably too much than I would pay for a craft like this, even if the trees do make this process very simple. Of course, we're gonna get to that in a minute. But the good news about Michael's is you can always get coupons. A lot of them that'll be like 50% off one item. When I went into the store, these were actually 40% off, just already on the shelf. So it brings the cost down considerably. So for me, it was somewhere around $4 per tree, but I think you could get them down to $3.50 per tree, which I think is a very fair price for how little in this craft that you have to do to get these on the table and looking great. All right, so to get started on this project, it's gonna be simple. We're gonna just take these out of the box. All right, so what they come with, these individual lights here, and you get 4 of them. Here's what they look like scaled next to a 28mm miniature. They are about the right size. They might be a little bit big, but what we're going to do is we're actually gonna take and cut them off at various different sizes once we get to a certain point, and that's gonna get us some variation in the trees. But for right now, what we need to do is just get all of these wires taken off. Get rid of all the electronics. Next up, we're gonna wanna get this white piece out. So you can actually take a tool and pinch down on the lip. Whoa! Knocking the camera over, and pull that piece right out. It's gonna leave a big hole down in the bottom here, but that's okay. Also, you live and you learn, I guess. I didn't even think about it, but I could have pulled these lights out and left them on the string, and then I could have probably used that for a craft in the future. I don't know what craft it would have been, but it would have been one. So, RIP, future craft that could have used this. Or maybe I need to learn how to wire stuff. That's also possible. I don't know. Oh well. So the next move to getting this project completed is I went and got a saw and I cut off the bases of the trees. You could certainly leave them exactly the way they were, but my main reason was I wanted them to be a little bit more to scale with my miniatures. So just compared to the way that they were before, this pine tree is still really big. It just gives me the opportunity to have something that's a little bit more to scale. The next thing that I'm gonna do is give these a quick little bubble bath to make sure that they are all clean and they don't have anything on them that would stop the primer from sticking to them. And then the next move is just to spray these completely flat black with a black primer. So now that we have all of our pine trees sprayed up in black primer, I just used a flat black from Army Painter. The next thing that we have to do is get them painted up, and it is hard to believe that this project is going this fast and this quick. I mean, literally all of the steps so far have been break them off of the lights, saw them down to the size you want them to be, spray them black. Now we're gonna paint them and we're gonna be done. So this is just maybe the quickest quick craft we've done so far, which is awesome. As far as paint job, this is gonna be really easy. I got 2 brushes out, a regular flat brush, and then I got a angled blush brush which is just a cheap makeup brush that I use for dry brushing. And then I broke out 3 craft paints. I got a English ivy green, which is like a dark desaturated green. Then I got a medium shamrock, which is like that same color green, just a couple of shades brighter. And then last I got this grass green, which is like a really rich kind of slowly starting to creep in a hint of blue to it. And that's what I'm gonna use as my highlight color. It's just gonna give these a little bit of extra kind of like pine needle pop compared to my other trees, which are just regular greens. And the way that this is gonna work is very simple. English ivy green is just gonna go over the entire model with a slightly watered down paint. Then we're just going to do 1 layer of dry brushing with the shamrock, and then we're gonna do 1 layer of dry brushing with the grass green. If that doesn't look quite highlighted enough, I might take it up just 1 more level of green to like maybe just super high highlights, but that's it. And then I think this project is done. Awesome. I love projects like this. They go so fast and then you get this cool thing on your table just right away. All right, so here we go. Let's dive into my final thoughts on this craft. Number 1, this is so insanely fast. I am just absolutely floored by how quick I got these done with very, very little effort to a point that I am totally happy with them. Some comparisons between the two. The ceramic ones that I had definitely have more definition. You can see the pine needles more, the dry brushing brought out a lot more detail. I think the contrast on these is better. That does not mean that I think that these turned out bad and are worse. If they are worse, it is by a very, very small margin. And if anything, just on the table, I would say they look different. And I'll tell you how much I like these. I bought the 4-pack because I wanted to show off how to do this for this video, but I am going to be going back and buying another 2 packs that will bring me up to 12 total of this style tree. I would be silly not to, for how easy it was to do, for how quick they came together, and how good they look after they're done. Also, another side benefit is I'm not planning on traveling anywhere to play D&D anytime soon. I prefer to DM out of my house. That's just the way that I like to do it. I'm lazy, what can I say? But the thing that I like about these compared to any other tree that I have is that these, you could just literally matte varnish them so that the paint won't come off, throw them into a box, and these are so easily transported because they're just hard plastic. That, and you just have like, maybe the best tabletop tree. I don't know. What are your thoughts? That's What are your thoughts? If you like this video, first of all, definitely leave me a like down below. But in the comments, I want to know, is this the ideal tree? I mean, what could you do to make a tree more functional? Now, certainly I think that you could be a much better painter than I am, or you could spend more time focusing on that. Maybe you could base them. I don't find any need to base them because they stand upright, they aren't falling over. So that works, but maybe you think that I should base them. What is your ideal tabletop tree? Leave that in the comments below. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you should definitely do that. That goes a long way to helping the channel out. And if you like this content, ring that notification bell. That way you know when our videos go live every week, which is Thursdays, Eastern Standard Time at noon. But that's all I've got for this episode of Quickcraft. Really pleased. Hopefully you make yourself some pine trees. We'll see you next week.